The one defining moment for me for this journey is when I took the job, because I knew I'd get the job done. I know the people in Dallas were very skeptical. I knew we had the right people. I knew we had the right plan. So I know eventually that we were going to win. My very first Super Bowl, the Jets flew over the top of the stadium and the roar of the crowd. It was just kind of made my hair stand on end because it was so magical a feeling knowing that in a few hours I'd be Super Bowl champion. It's so very difficult to win back-to-back Super Bowls. So I was back in my room after practice one day and I was watching Buffalo. I saw Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas practicing the shuffle pass. They had never run it the entire year. So we practiced that week versus the shuffle pass, knowing that they were going to run it. When you win a championship, it says you're the best. And it's such a great feeling because how many people throughout the country can say that they're the best at anything?
Well, you can't have a Super Bowl dynasty discussion without talking about the Dallas Cowboys of the 1990s. 3 Super Bowl titles, 6 straight playoff appearances, and of course, it all started with that outstanding record in 1989 of 1-15. But right now, the house that Jerry built here in Arlington, Texas, it began with a foundation laid by all of our guests today. Troy Aikman, Gerald Johnston, Michael Irvin, Mr. Jerry Jones himself, and of course, our own Jimmy Johnson. First of all, welcome, fellas. We're going to get into some Super Bowl memories here in a second and just talk about how this thing all came together, started by Jerry and Jimmy.
Well, yeah, Kurt, this bunch is special. You know, and I want to talk a little bit about, you know, Jerry Jones, his Cowboys, right now the highest valued sports franchise in the world at $2 billion right now. But it really wasn't that easy. You know, it started out, it was a lot difficult. And Jerry and I, you know, it's well documented some of our rocky times, but we've known each other 50 years and we've had a great run and we're still friends.
Jerry, I've always said that you're the most respected, hardest working entrepreneur that I've ever known. But I know it wasn't always easy.
Well, first of all, you are biased, but my dad came from hard times. And yet, sitting around the breakfast table, I would hear stories of my father and mother, how they would get a bank loan, struggle to pay it, but yet kept on with that blind faith, thinking things would go good.
Well, it wasn't always positive. Your monthly payment those first couple of years was what?
The Cowboys were losing over $1 million a month. And the tab to buy the Cowboys at that time was about $75,000 a day. There were a lot of times when I had a lot less money than I owed. About 15, 20 years ago, I got off the plane and tried to rent a car, and they cut my credit card up. Now, that'll make your eyes water right there.
I've been in stadiums all my life, and stadiums are stadiums, but this place is special. You go into a football stadium, and you're not accustomed to seeing artwork.
This art has nothing to do with a block or a tackle or a completed pass. And if you go through this stadium, you'll see 20 pieces of art that are really of museum quality. And again, giving our fans something that hadn't traditionally been involved in football. When I got to thinking about the tradition of the Cowboys, I said, how can we do anything but as much as we can do?
Jerry, I was with you. You borrowed $140 million for the Cowboys in Texas Stadium, overpaid, $1.2 billion for this palace, overpaid. Why?
Well, any time that I've ever overpaid for quality, it has been a successful move. I really was enticed by the best. By the way, I went after and got the best coach available at the time.
Thank you. Jerry, you've come a long, long way. We both have. From those first days when we were saying, hey, you know, we'll do something that'll be talked about forever and ever in sports history.
Jimmy, I remember like it was yesterday.
Well, I told you my first time in this magnificent stadium. Proud of you.
Hey, buddy.
It's really special.
That's good. Yeah, real good. Thank you.
And Jerry, it is special. It's unbelievable. I mean, it really takes my breath away every time I get into this stadium.
You know something, Jimmy? I could have never dreamed when we were freshmen and sophomores back in college that we'd get to be a part of the Dallas Cowboys, get to be with men in various ways like we're sitting here with today. It's been a dream, and that helped inspire me to step out here and build a stadium like this.
Well, I got to make amends with my quarterback. Troy, we told the story earlier when I left you in the locker room at the NFC Championship game.
You told it already.
Oh, yeah. Have you forgiven me?
Barely. Look at you two guys over here. Now, if that had happened back when we were still playing.
I was just thinking that.
Oh, tell them what might have happened, Mike.
I was just thinking that, and really had an appreciation for watching you two, and I was watching you two watch the piece, because we shared such great moments on the football field and building what we built. You underestimate what process brings to a group. Process means we went through the losing, so when we got to the top, we never got too big for one another on the field because we knew, all right, remember we got our butts kicked in. It really is. It was good seeing you guys look at that piece with such love.
Michael, Bill Walsh said that when Jimmy and I split up, he said those two guys grew careless with their relationship. And it was a lesson that I will always remember as well. And one of the biggest things that inspired me about buying the Dallas Cowboys was knowing I could go get Jimmy. And I called him on the phone, and he said, Jerry, I'd go sell insurance with you. He said, I've been wanting to work with you all my life. Whatever we do, let's go.
So do you guys ever wonder, including you, Jerry and Jimmy, what might have been had those two guys kept it together for 10 years or so?
Well, I think a lot of people talked about maybe the first team that was going to win 3 in a row, and they had a vision early on that maybe it took all of us a little bit longer to buy into and understand how good this team could be, and it was all about the friendships, and you can see it between Jerry and Jimmy right now. Our team has stayed very, very close even after retirement, and I think that that's one of the reasons we were able to do that. If everybody would have been able to stay together, our players, our staff, if we have not entered the era of free agency and had coaches being pulled from our roster, I don't know what the potential of that team could have been.
You know, Kurt, we're asked that a lot. We're asked a bunch. What would have happened had Jimmy and Jerry had stayed together for 10 or 15 years? And I don't know. I think we would have won more Super Bowls, but then I think that discounts how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. I don't know that we would have won more, but what I do know is we would have been really good and really competitive for a long time.
Hey, now, Troy, we were cocky, though. Remember that first Super Bowl? You were standing on the sideline next to me, and you had thrown 4 touchdown passes, and I kind of hit you aside. I said, hey, you want to set a record and go ahead and throw another one?
Yeah, that was some of that Miami coming out of you.
Hey, Michael, you were there when we came in. When we were 1-15, did you look at Jerry and I and say, do these guys know what they're doing?
Yeah, you know what, Coach, and you remember this when Jerry first bought the team and he made the change and made the announcement. I called Coach and I said, Coach, I'm not a snitch, but I got a few people on the piece of paper that need to get out of here. And they were all the guys, Troy, when we were losing, that would walk by me and say, hey, don't worry, we pick up a check on Tuesday. Oh, I wrote their names down. Just like Santa, and I gave the list, and I said, these guys aren't nice. They've been naughty. And Coach said, they got to go. And
we got rid of all of them.
We got rid of the riffraff. And that's
Michael was on board then a lot earlier than a lot of other people.
Yeah, because I knew.
When we first walked in, Jimmy introduced me to Michael because, of course, he had played for him.
That's right.
And he said, now he's a wide receiver, but before he left Miami, he had whipped everybody on the team. So he's going to be good for us.
And the first thing I told you, remember the first thing? I walked up to Jerry, I said, hey, that'll be the best. I never heard of that kind of money. And I come up and say, that'll be the best, whatever millions of dollars you ever spent, I promise. We'll win championship. I shook his hand and walked off, and I was like, I've never heard of that kind of money. How could I make a statement like that? But it was, and it worked out great.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Had I known in any way that we were going to get to have the experience that we had together, you couldn't have known it at all. But had I known that, I'd have doubled down, Michael, for sure.
Well, you did try to double down before the second Super Bowl. Remember, I went in, you called me and you said, Jimmy, we're going to change the uniforms for the game this weekend. And you're going to have different helmets, going to have different jerseys. Troy, remember this? I talked, and I said, you're going to change the uniforms. I said, Troy's accustomed to throwing to a certain colored helmet. I said, now, if we win, everything's fine. But if we lose, they're going to laugh us out of town.
Well, let me tell you, he wasn't getting any place with the first part of that argument, but he wasn't outstanding in psychology for no other reason, so he appealed to the other. Just think if we don't win, what they're going to say and talk about you. Now, I hope it's worth it too. Then I went to my room and thought about it a little bit.
Hey, now, we talked about this the other day, and in fact, I talked to Emmett and the whole crew. You know, we were a very physical team. You know, we had the pads on. I never practiced in sweats. And people are debating, say, would that type of practice and that type of football work today with today's players?
You know, for me, I think that's how you have to play the game. I mean, when you look around, Coach, and I will say this, as I'm in this business and I go to places and visit and sit down and talk with people, the times I go to the organizations and it says a 315, the guys that are there 310, time and time again, those organizations end up here in the Super Bowl. And the guys that don't do these things, they don't end up here.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference, Coach.
Don't
Mike
forget,
McCarthy, people went full pads Wednesday. Mike McCarthy
Yes,
for the Packers
right.
went
Yeah.
full pads on
Right.
Wednesday.
And don't forget that when you first came in, you did things a different way, and then you went back to the way you thought things should be done. So I don't think it's the question of does this work. If you decide as the head coach that this is how we're going to do it, that we as players have to say, all right, let's get this done.
And it sets the mind. It set the mind for you. You set the mind. We hit on Wednesday and Thursday because I didn't want to, my big linemen, and I would be on them to run in a game and get a fingernail and say, oh, my fingernail hurts. No, you get your big butt back out there and make sure nobody touches this boy so he can get me that ball.
Hey, plus, we had the youngest team in the league. We had a rookie owner. We had a rookie head coach, so nobody knew any different.
You know what? You
Got
take a
this
look
right.
right now, guys, and these two are lovey-dovey like we've never seen them before. But, Troy, you talked a little bit about this week. You're up there in the Ring of Honor at the new stadium. Michael Irvin's up there. I mean, feel somebody's missing?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and say it now. You said it already this week. Say it.
Well, hey, Jerry's got a hard job.
I've got his spot. It's right over behind the concession stand. It's another spot down there.
That's as good as
It'll be
any.
a good spot for him.
He'll be there one day. I know this. I speak for Michael and myself and Emmett and all the others we played for. If we deserve to be in it, Jimmy Johnson certainly deserves
Well,
to be in it.
it's very nice of you.
Well, that's pretty persuasive, guys, and and you know how I feel about his contribution. When I introduced Jimmy, right after I'd bought the team, and of course I'm arm waving, and I said he's worth 5 Super Bowls, he's worth 5 Heisman Trophy winners. I said we have got us a coach. When he was at Oklahoma State, I didn't have anything to sell. I still would sponsor his coaching show. There'd be old Jerry Jones.
Right.
What's next? Nothing. I was just sponsoring his coaching show.
We go back a long way, guys.
And you almost got your 5 Super Bowls. You got 3 with the talent that you guys assembled together. We appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Fine.
Troy, we'll hear from you during the broadcast with Joe Buck. Thank you very much, Moose. Michael, always great to see you, brother. You take care. Thank you very much, Jerry. We love the Palace. This is, I'm telling you, seen places all over the world. There's nowhere on this planet like this place. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Jimmy will be back to continue talking as well as we continue on the pregame show. Coming up in just a bit, we've got the Steelers dynasties of the 70s to talk about. But up next, Harrison Ford, Michael Douglas, and Catherine Zeta-Jones on the red carpet. And another live performance from country music star Keith Irvin at the tailgate party. Hey, this party's just getting revved up as the State Farm pregame show rocks on. We'll be back.